Hi everybody. I just thought I would come on today to talk a bit about an altar. So I put up a couple of videos on loss and grief, and this is just a little video on how we can bring our loved ones into our everyday practice. And it also helps with coming to terms with the loss and the transition um, of living life without our loved ones. So it's just about building a little altar at home so you can call the spirit of the person into your everyday. So I'll get into it. I have a couple of altars around the house. I have one up in my bedroom. I have one down the sitting room. I have a couple of little bits that I like to, add. Um, I have a small one here in my practice. And so you start off with a tray, or I'm just using my breadboard because this is just an example. So today I'm going to show you how to do an altar for your loved one. And not just for your loved one, but have an altar that you can go, because the altar is the space between. It's a place, a sacred place of honor, and that we can give reverence to, our loved ones and our ancestors. And you can just have an altar for the seasons as well and how you're feeling. And I really found an altar helped me, and it does help me a lot. I pick a card, or I might do something different, put a picture of a loved one there. So I'm going to get into it. So my father's anniversary, he's 8 years gone, is coming up. Now I always have a little picture of him at my own altar, but this is just an example for anyone who has lost a young child, or a baby, or a loved one, or a brother or a sister. If you have a couple of relatives that you miss in spirit, or like you can incorporate the lot. Now I have like a couple of pictures of people there, but um because this is on YouTube, I'm just going to keep it brief. So you can set off with your foundation, and I'm just going to put that there on my table. And I like to add, first of all, I like to add incense. Now this is frankincense and myrrh. Um, it supports the soul. It supports the soul crossing as well. And just the symbology of it. So I start off with a little incense. I'll put the incense down there. You can light an incense instead of a candle if you want. I have a lovely candle here, and you can light this after you've set everything up. It's made of beeswax, which represents community, and our tribe, which is our ancestors, our family. Then you can, I'm just going to cover my father's face, so then you can add a little picture of the person that you're thinking about, that you love. I'll pop him in there. And this was made for me by my husband, and you can pop ashes in there. I don't have my father's ashes. I used to. I scattered his ashes, but I like this. I like the symbology of it. It's wood. I like wood, the earth element, and it has just dad on it. So I'm going to pop that in the center. I have some citrine for abundance, tourmaline for clearing any energy, and a rose quartz love heart. So I'm just going to pop a couple of crystals because that's my thing. So you can add crystals, you can add flowers, you can add something that's in like that you associate with them. With my dad, pheasants. So a pheasant feather is what I associate my father with. We used to spend a lot of time on the land together, and we used to go hunting and working together, and I learned a lot about the land through my dad, so I honour him in this way, the little feather. And the O'Brien, because that's his name, O'Brien, and descendant of Brian Brew, and I honour that name. It took me a long time to give it up. when I got married, but that's just, I just have the keyring, so I said I'm going to pop that on there. So you can add a bowl that if you want to write a little note, if you're worried about a problem, or if you just thinking about them, and or if you're going through anything heavy, you can write a little note and you're offering it to the altar. Even if you want to write a little I love you note or I miss you, you're just offering it up to the altar. So you can put that on your altar there. Now, years ago, I found this. My father, I asked my father for a sign years and years ago, and my father's nickname was the Bird. And I wasn't in a good place. I was really down and out, and I was feeling really low on myself, and I asked my father for a sign. I said, if I just feel that you're with me, and I know that you're with me, because at times of darkness we don't always see that they're close to us. And lo and behold, in the most random place, this rock. And I just knew, and I said, if that is there when I come out, this was like outside Tesco, with loads of people passing it. So I said, if this is still here when I come back, I know it's for me, and I have it years later. So that represents my dad. So I have some ivy as well, because it's all about going in and the soul. I was also out on a walk yesterday, and I just a random bit of ash had fallen off the ash tree, and I picked it up, and it's like in between the spaces, isn't it? So just for me, it's nature, bringing nature inwards, because I would have spent a lot of time out in nature, and ash is like life, in between the life and death, in between spaces for me. So they represent different things for different people. And I found, funny enough, this card, it's called A Door to the Infinite. So I said I would pop that into the altar there as well. And I have a lovely little tree to represent my ancestors. I always incorporate them, and to represent the nature. The nature that I spent time with my dad out on. I miss them walks. I really miss them walks. And because there were stillness, there were connection, and there was no words needed, no communication needed, just being on the land. And that silent communication, of being present with another person while you're walking, and scavenging for shells, periwinkles in fact. And he was full of knowledge. Some people would say useless information, but not to me, because it was just, it was very magical. So I'm popping that up. And the acorn then. Pine cone, sorry, not acorn. The pine cone is all about the heart and the third eye, obviously, and it's a tree that I would have climbed as a child. It's out there and it's massive. The pine cones are about that size in the tree that I climb now, and I put a bit of this herb that I found on holiday. It's a very special herb, and it's got a lovely smell to it, and it's protection. It's spiritual protection, and it's just an honouring, like a gift to the altar. So I like to add little things. So if I see a random rock or whatever, so this might be different for everyone, but this is how I honour the person that has passed, and how I just like to bring that into my everyday. So that is my altar. And when you're finished, you light your candle and you can put your incense there. That's the altar there. So I like to have little things on it, like, before I drop everything. I also like to add like a pen and a piece of paper. And if you come into my house, anyone that comes into my sitting room will see I have a little altar up by my radiator in the center of my sitting room, and I have like well, if they're not confiscated by my daughter for her doodling, a little notepad and a pen, and you know, even just expressing how you're feeling on that day about the person that you really miss, whatever, or something positive. So tear it off and pop it in your bowl. I call it the ancestors bowl, because anyone that crosses before us is our ancestors. So yeah, that's how I like to honor, and just the ivy there about going in, and it's just a way of helping me through my grief, and creating a space for them in my home, because there'll always be space in our hearts, you know, and it does get easier. So I don't have I have a picture of my brother, but I don't have a memorial card. So I didn't want to add like all the pictures I had. So I just said I would do that for my dad, but he's always on my altar. And sometimes you don't have to put the picture on the altar. You can set the intention that I'm lighting this candle for whatever. I'm pulling these cards for, you know, sometimes I'll shuffle the deck and I'll pull the card, and I'll reflect on the card. I might write something and pop it in the bowl, and it's like a surrendering, handing over. So the altar is a space in between transition for me, a space that I can go to, you know, while I'm in, you know, honoring the person that has passed, but also offering something up. So if I'm out on a walk and I find something on the nature walk, or something comes to me, I'll offer it up, or a situation, I'll offer it up to the altar, like write a little note and put it in. I have like a serenity jar, I call it, sanity jar, in at my other altar, and I pop little notes in there, and you know, it's out of sight as well, and it feels like you're giving that up, you know, offering up your day to spirit, offering up, you know. And if it's a little, it's a loved one, a child or anything, you could put, you know, a soother or whatever, you know, a little toy, you know, maybe a statue of an angel, you know. So it depends on the person. So with my father, it was very earthy, nature based. I'm kind of that way myself. um so that's my little altar for my dad. So yeah, I hope this helps. So it's just, and it's like, for me, it's not just an altar, it's a ritual. And I think when we learn to navigate the grief, ritual is so important in our grieving process, because it helps us come to terms with our loved one's loss, the loss of them and them being gone. So that's, I know now I don't make sense, like I seem to have just a spasm every time I come online or I try and type something, but I hope this made sense to someone. And it's a beautiful way, like in the morning, if you come down and you set the intention at the altar and light the candle, and light the incense, and you know, even sitting with the presence, you know, calling in the spirit. But there's loads of little things you can do. You can write notes, you know, even on their anniversary, like put a little cupcake or something, offer it up to the ancestors. If I come across berries or anything on my walk, I'll pick it up and I'll pop it on the altar. My other altar's kind of gone a bit full now at this rate, because whatever random stuff I get. And yeah, so I think ritual is very important. If we have a ritual around our loved one and the person we've lost, it kind of brings them in closer to us, and it helps with that grieving process, to even though we have the physical loss is gone, we're welcoming in the spirit, and we're welcoming in the signs. And yeah, so I hope you all have a great day. Bye.